Battered Family Services, we're fortunate to have a lot of dedicated employees who bring a lot of their skills, talents, and good intentions to the work that we do. So that's one of the first things I wanted to acknowledge. And then I want to say thank you to all the elected political leaders that we have here to acknowledge this movement that's taken place, and also acknowledge the individuals who took the initiatives back in the 90s and the 2000s to begin collecting the names and acknowledging and showing our community and our society that these incidents were taking place. So those individuals need to be recognized for their work. With every movement, there's always different stages that exist. You have activism, and then eventually it gets to the next phase where they've been heard, and now the government has allocated funding for that specific cause. And so we're at the stage where we're taking that funding and turning it into a program and administering those funds in an equitable way. So again, thank you for coming out and supporting this movement and taking the time to think about the individuals who have been missing and those that have been murdered. Thank you.
Thank you. And then now we'll have the mayor do the proclamation reading.
This is a proclamation basically that the City Council voted on last night. The proclamation, May 5th, 2024, will be an observance of National Day of Awareness for Missing, Murdered Indigenous Women and Persons. To bring statewide attention to this national crisis, the City of Gallup and supports the Battered Family Services, and in their new pilot Missing and Murdered Persons program, to address the MMIWAP cases incidences. Battered Family Services is a nonprofit organization that provides services to those who experience domestic and sexual violence, to all individuals regardless of race, creed, religion, gender, sexual orientation, national origin, or disability. The City of Gallup is the 6th city in the United States with the highest number of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. According to the Urban Indian Health Institute in 2017, in urban New Mexico, which includes Gallup, 78 women and girls have been reported missing and murdered since 1956, making the state with the highest incidence of violence in the urban demographic. The Gallup Police Department data reported in 2014 to 2019, 87% of all homicide cases were Native American. A tribute to the late New Mexico Senator John Pinto, 2019 Senate Memorial 38, supporting U.S. Congresswoman Deb Haaland, call for a national investigation of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. Therefore, I, Mayor Louis Bonaguidi, and City Councilors Linda Garcia, Michael Schacht, Sarah Piano, and Ron Molina do hereby recognize the month of May in Gallup as Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Persons Awareness Month.
Awesome.
All right, so next, thank you, Mayor, for that proclamation reading.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Senator Shannon Pinto.
Thank you. Yeah. So in terms of the issue, I'm glad we're having this gathering to keep it alive in that sense. And I would like to introduce one of our representatives here, also from another part of the state, Representative Tara Lujan. she's also a big supporter. And we could not do this, a lot of it, without the advocacy and the supporters within the legislature to move things forward and have that funding available. So I very, very much appreciate it, especially to the families that are affected. The State of New Mexico Executive Office, Santa Fe, New Mexico proclamation. Whereas May is Missing and Murdered Indigenous People Awareness Month and is dedicated to recognize and honor the Indigenous people who are missing and have been murdered in the United States. And whereas MMIP Awareness Month also strives to raise community awareness regarding the continued need for greater resources at the national and state level that provide justice, accountability, and resolution of the MMIP crisis. And whereas there still exists a staggering number of Indigenous persons, including women, girls, men, and two-spirit individuals who remain missing in New Mexico. Whereas between July 25th, 2022 through April 19th, 2024, 1,143 Indigenous persons were reported as missing with New Mexico law enforcement. And whereas of the 1,143 Indigenous persons reported missing during that period, 119 are still missing. And whereas of the 119 Indigenous persons that are still missing, 48% are female, with a median age of 17 years old, and 52% are males with a median age of 29 years old. And whereas New Mexico remains committed to combating the MMIP crisis and eliminating the systemic barriers that perpetuated it so that families and tribal communities have closure and can build a safe and secure future. Now, therefore, I, Michelle Lujan Grisham, Governor of the State of New Mexico, do hereby proclaim May 2024 as Missing and Murdered Indigenous People Awareness Month. Signed by the Secretary of State and our Governor, Michelle Lujan Grisham. And I think many of you have seen the billboards that come in, and those are not just here, they're throughout the state. That's one of the investments, is making sure that awareness is continued, and we continue to advocate on our scale of what we can do. So yeah, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Senator Pinto, for the governor's proclamation. Next up, we have our honorary speaker, Patty Lundstrom, Representative Patty Lundstrom.
Thank you very much, and I want you all to know that it's a special privilege for me to be here with you all this evening, and I also want to welcome State Representative Tara Lujan. She was here with the Legislative Finance Committee. That committee was meeting today just in the second building here at the courthouse. But I'm here because this is an incredibly important issue, and one that when I first heard about it and was introduced to it, I can tell you without question my heart broke. My heart broke primarily because we're talking about our friends and our families. We're talking about people that we've grown up with and people that we live with and throughout our community every day. So I was very pleased when the legislation came forth, the sponsors that brought it forth, and I was very happy to be a supporter of that legislation. But I can tell you that we don't always do everything right in government. I know when we had our hearing with the Chair Pinto and Chair Johnson, Indian Affairs, and we had the Attorney General, and we had the Indian Affairs Department in front of us, I had made quite a big deal about the fact that we didn't see things moving as quickly as it should be. And I think the Senator will acknowledge that at that hearing, because all we were getting was a bunch of, I thought, red tape instead of getting things moving. And I'd made a big deal about it. And I can tell you now that after all of our committee had basically weighed in on it, there's change. There is now coordination among the agencies. We got an update from the AG's office as well as the Indian Affairs Department, and now people are actually working together. You know, it's kind of sad when you see legislation of this magnitude and this importance, and people are just primarily caring about their own turf. And you see siloed funding, you see siloed events, and then when we have our constituents, we come home and talk to them, we want to make sure that we're actually bringing good information back and we're actually seeing movement. So I'm proud that we finally got this thing up and running. We've got programming now where they're working together, because it's very, very important that this stop. When I'd heard a year or so ago about people coming in from Phoenix and actually picking up our residents and taking them, that was the first thing that came to my mind. They were just taking them to a different community, and gosh, who knows what was going on there. Just terrible. And I know our law enforcement stepped up, and so did all the other agencies to make sure that stopped. But I want you to know that the legislators from this area and Tara from Santa Fe, we're not going to take this line down.
Amen.
And Santa Fe needs to be ready for us this next session when we come forward, because I think what we need now is more funding into this.
Amen.
We need to be able to provide more funding, more support for these agencies. And I know that you've got the commitment from all of us that are here to work on this, because it's not just a Gallup problem, it's not just a Santa Fe problem. You know, it's a nation problem. But as our mayor said, we're 6th in the darn country, and our population here is only 21,000. What does that say?
Yeah.
That's a problem. That's an epidemic. So as far as I'm concerned, you have our commitment. We'll be working on this next session. No more red tape, no more bureaucratic excuses, but we're going to move forward. So thank you all for having us here this evening. We're a small group, but we're a mighty group. We're small,
Amen.
but we're tough. And don't ever forget that. We've got a good team here. So thank you very much for listening to us this evening.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
We have the staff created a little board for families and friends of missing and murdered individuals. If you want to put their names on the board, there's a space for you to do that here. These red silhouettes signify the men, women, and children that have been missing and murdered. And we have a wreath here. All right. So next, it's supposed to be Ethel Branch. I don't think she's made it in yet. And so now we're going to talk a little bit about the services at Battered Families. I am the legal advocate, and there at Battered Families, and I assist victims, survivors of domestic violence with protection orders, child custody, divorce, anything relating to the criminal justice system. I can assist victims, help navigate that, and try to make sense of what the courts and law enforcement is asking of them. Our Batterers Intervention Program, and I'll have Chloe come up and talk about it.
Hi, everybody. I just want to thank you all for coming, first of all. The tireless efforts of our advocates at the MMP program, as well as the rest of the BFS program, is extremely crucial and definitely cannot be overemphasized. My name is Chloe James. I'm with Batter Family Services. I am a domestic violence intervention specialist. I work with the Batter Intervention Program, or BIP, as we like to call it. I have a few notes here that I would like to get through. So the Batter Intervention Program is a 52-week free service for those who have been perpetrators of domestic violence. Our goal is to use trauma-informed curriculum to provide reflection and recovery for those who have been perpetrators of domestic violence. The purpose of this is to minimize reoffenses and provide these perpetrators a space to initiate, to begin to heal, and to change. The program primarily focuses on perpetrators who have been court-ordered to do this, but it is on a voluntary basis also, which means that if you or somebody that you know is often violent towards an intimate partner or someone that they know, their family, somebody in their community, We do accept clients on a voluntary basis, so please refer them to us. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to call us or come by our office. We're open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. We also have a website that has a bunch of information. We have endless pamphlets with information, so please don't hesitate to reach out. We also have our advocates here who work with our BFS program. All of them are extremely wonderful, extremely helpful, informative. And our job primarily is to network you with other programs that may serve different needs, and we'd love to do that. I think that's it, Diane.
Thank you guys, first and foremost, for coming out and joining us to, you know, to recognize all of this. It's a big deal, something that, you know, we can't stay quiet about, just like we do with domestic violence as well in our organization. My name is Marlisha Treviso. I am the Children Program caseworker. I work with children who have gone through domestic violence or have seen or been through a traumatic experience. I do case management. I also am starting parenting classes soon, towards the end of May, the beginning of June. And our goal is to get out there and help children that are going through traumatic experiences, so that when they are older, they're less likely to be an offender or go through domestic violence themselves. And so, you know, the program is also free of charge to anybody who would like to come. I invite like all the parents to come out as well and get involved a little bit more with their children, so that, you know, we're not having to deal with all of these things coming up, you know, domestic violence wise. We're not having to have these children be traumatized as well, you know, and they get a little bit of help. I work with children with fun activities. I do case management. We do have a housing program that I also work with as well, and I go out and see these families that have been through a domestic violence situation and have actually got out there and got into their own home. They were able to get away. So just kind of following up with their families to make sure that their children still remain in that safe environment is something that I do as well. So I invite all of you guys to come out. Just like Chloe said, we have so much information for you. We have our housing program, which there's nobody here to kind of explain about that, but our housing program is a big deal right now, especially because it's helping a lot of families who have gone through a traumatic event. But thank you guys again for all coming out here. We do appreciate it. Thank you. Do you want me to do the shelter?
We also have a closet of donations at our office over on Strong. It's right around the corner. We have high